Hey, welcome back to another episode of Camp and Camera. Today we're going to talk about getting yourself, your family, and your teardrop prepared for an emergency. Hey, welcome back everyone. If this is your first time here, it's good to have you. And if you're a repeat watcher, it's good to see you again. Today, hey, I want to talk about something that's just a little bit different. It still involves teardrop camping for sure, but it involves using your teardrop not so much for camping as it does using it as a safe place, as an emergency get out of town vehicle. Hey, I love the good old US of A, but let's face it, stuff happens. There are hurricanes around the coast, there are fires out west, riots in the cities, massive power outages for days on end, winter storms, blizzards, all kinds of things happening around. It's been going on forever, but it doesn't make it any easier to deal with it. So I want to talk about using your teardrop or converted van or other small dwelling is I'm going to call it a get-out vehicle, an emergency go vehicle. And we're also going to talk about putting together an emergency go bag. Let's get cranking. So let's get real. Disaster doesn't always strike when it's convenient. Your first challenge may not even be, where am I going to take my camper for a few days, until things or the situation improve. Your first challenge may be, how do I even get home to where my camper is? Goodness knows what could happen, some unforeseen weather event, some kind of civil unrest. Maybe there's a computer hack and the whole electrical grid goes down. You may be challenged with, how do I even get back home? So I want to talk about putting together an emergency go bag that you can take with you that may, have some things in it that'll help you get back to where your camper even is. And then we'll talk about that part of it later. So let's look at what's in this bag. So this actually is a surplus military bag that I picked up at a military surplus sale, and I like these because they're built very rugged, very heavy. There's all kinds of accessory loops on them you can attach other things to, and hey, if it's good enough for the US military, it sure be good enough for a guy like me. I found it very affordably too, so go to a surplus store and you can find these kind of things. Let's crack this bag open. The first thing you're going to find in my bag is in the back. There's this large pouch, and I'm just going to put a tarp in here. Now, if you have to walk, whatever your emergency is, and you'd have to walk, maybe go through the woods, you may run into some rain, goodness knows what, and you can string a tarp up between a couple trees and make some temporary shelter. So I put a tarp in this bag. Matter of fact, let me open up the next largest pocket here. I've got a bunch of goodies in this pocket. The first goodie is this little cook set that I picked up at a flea market years ago. And it's basically just a pot with a cup in there so you can do some cooking over a campfire. Little cup you can drink out of. Now this one was owned by James Brown, and I couldn't get that off even with mineral spirits. So whenever I go camping with my emergency go bag, James Brown is going to be with me. If it's cold outside and you don't have enough warmth, I picked up 2 of these survival blankets. It's just it's like a metallic looking blanket that reflects your body heat. I picked up 2 of these. That way I've got one for both me and my wife. It's hard to beat having a knife. This is an old survival knife that I picked up, an old military knife. I just made a homemade sheath for it. And the reason I like having a fixed blade knife is that I can lay this on a piece of wood and just hit it with a rock and use it a little bit like a hatchet, so it keeps me from having to carry a big hatchet around. A very important item, and I keep this in a zipped up zipper seal bag. This is a life straw. Many of you probably already know what that is. But a life straw basically is a filter that you can just stick down in some water and drink out of it, and drink some filtered safe water. Now, water is life. You have to have water, and if you carried enough water to sustain you and maybe one or two other people for a few days, it would be super heavy. You really couldn't carry that. But I think this will filter like maybe 1,000 gallons. So if I haven't been, made it to a safe place or rescued by the time I've drunk 1,000 gallons, then it's my time to go. I just carry a couple more large Ziploc bags. They're just a handy item. Duct tape. You can't go anywhere without duct tape. Now, it also serves another purpose besides being able to hold things together. I have white duct tape, and I also have a Sharpie in here that I can write on. So if I'm, going through the woods or going somewhere, and I want people to know that I've been through there in case they're trying to track me, I can always, write a note, Mike Foster was here, help, and, put this on a low, tree limb or something, and this white's going to show up, and people are going to know that I've been through there. Maybe make it easier to find me. This is a little emergency radio. It's a radio and a flashlight, and the cool thing is, you just crank it up and it gives it power. So it'd be nice to have a flashlight for sure out in the wilderness, or wherever you happen to be at night. But it's also, a nice feature that it's got a radio so you can hear what's going on. Maybe if you're just trying to stay off the grid for a couple days, it would be nice listening to the radio to know when it's safe to go back. Your cell phone, everybody's got a cell phone. That battery ain't going to last forever. So I've got a backup battery for my cell phone and a cord to plug it in with. I've got about 65 feet of paracord. I'm just leaving this tied up nice and neat, but you can use that to string your tarp up with or a variety of other things. Now let's talk about food. I've got a can of Spam. What's the world without Spam? I've got a couple cans of Beanie Weenies, a couple cans of Vienna sausage. You can tell that I think protein is important. Now, it's not healthy food necessarily, but this isn't about being healthy. This is about making it. I've got some granola bars for some good energy. And I've packed basically enough rations that it would last me and my wife for about 3 days. Now, yeah, we'd be hungry when we got back, but we'd have enough to get back. We had a couple packs of this tuna laying around, and we hadn't eaten it, so I just threw it in here. Now, one word of warning, bears like fish, so if you're in an area that has bear activity, you may not want to open that up or bring that with you. So if you're out in the woods for a few days, or somewhere for a few days, you'll get bored. It's good to have some entertainment. I brought my harmonica. So there's a little pouch on the front that's a Velcro or hook and loop pouch, and I keep 3 things in there. The first is my little flashlight that goes on my head. It's just a little pencil flashlight. It's pretty handy because it shines a beam of light wherever your head's turned. The second thing is this neon green container of pepper spray. Now you're probably wondering, is that all you're carrying for protection? Well, I wouldn't want to put something more than this in the bag just in case a kid got into it. The last thing is this neon orange whistle. If you're out hurt somewhere and somebody's trying to find you, you may not be yelling loud enough. They're probably going to hear the whistle from a good distance. So the next pouch has some pretty important items in there. The first one, I have this bag of medicine. Now, what do I keep in here? I keep some larger bandages. I don't have a wrap. I need to pick a wrap up. I guess in a pinch I could use duct tape, but I've got some large bandages in here. I've got some chewable children's Benadryl. It's just regular Benadryl in a low dose. It'll hit you instantly if you chew it up. So if you've got a kid with you, it's safe for them. If it's adult, you just take a double dose. I've got some aspirin, I've got some Tylenol, I've got some regular extended release Benadryl in here, and I've got some triple antibiotic ointment. So if you do get cut, You can put some antibiotic ointment on there before you put your bandage on. Now, it's a good idea to keep medicine in its original container, because you'll have this go bag in the trunk of your car from maybe here on out. If you ever get searched for any reason, it's always a good idea for medication to be in its original container. If you need to wipe your face to make you feel better, if you need to sanitize something, if you need to wipe your butt, here's some hand and face wipes. I got a small container of them. It's always nice to be able to clean things up. I found this miniature bottle of bug repellent, and that's super handy if you're out in the woods somewhere. I carry this tiny bottle of, it's not Lysol, it's a generic brand, but it's a small bottle of disinfectant. So if you need to spray some disinfectant, you'll have that. Here's the Sharpie I was talking about for writing on the duct tape. So here is a little utility knife. It's just a little disposable knife. You click it and the blades pop out. It's super sharp, and it will do the job that a regular knife can't. So it's always nice to have that. I've got my my old Swiss Army knife, and of course there's a variety of tools in the Army knife. And you're probably wondering, how's this guy going to make fire? Well, I've got something to make fire. The first thing is I'm just carrying a Bic lighter. You can't beat just a good old Bic lighter, so I've got that. And then I've also got this waterproof container by I don't know if it's UCO or UCO, but these are some pretty heavy duty matches. Supposedly you could light one of these matches and stick it under and pull it out and it's still lit. Now I don't know about that. We'll try that. But if that works, that'd be a pretty handy kind of match to have out in the woods if you're trying to survive for a couple days. So let's try one of these matches out. Now there's, I don't know, a couple dozen matches in this kit, and again they claim that you can get these wet and they'll still light, and it's in a waterproof container. So I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice one of these things. So let's light it, stick it in some water, and see if this really works. Son of a gun. How about that? So that really does work. So you can light one of these matches, stick it in water, pull it out, and it's still going. So that, I guess, whatever is on a match that you strike, it's just, it's got about 1 inch of that, so that's how that does that. So yeah, those are some pretty handy matches. Some of this stuff I picked up at Walmart. Some of it I had laying around the house. This, I think I found these at Walmart. If there's anything here I can find an Amazon link to, I'll put it in the description below. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So those are the items that I put in my emergency go bag. Now, are those the best items? I don't know. I'm kind of new at this. I'm just showing you what I put in there. I think it's enough to get me by for a couple, 3 days until I get back to my camper, and then I can really get serious about getting out of town. Hopefully my wife will be with me if something were to happen, and I've got enough food in here to last a couple of us. So many of you out there probably have a lot better ideas. Some things that I probably ought to add to my kit. If you do, put those items in the description below. I'd love to hear from you. And next episode, I guess you could say, will be part 2, where we'll actually talk about, you've made it back to your camper. How can you be sure your camper's ready to go so you don't have to be scurrying around for hours, trying to get out of town. So give me a thumbs up if you like this episode. Subscribe if you want to come back, and I hope you do. And until next time, take care. We'll see you on the road.